وعز المرسلين أبي القاسم محمد وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين وصحبه المنتجبين وعلى جميع أنبياء الله والمرسلين. We talk about before الحديث المتواتر والحديث الأحد. الحديث المتواتر, as you recall, it is not just narrated by one chain of narrators. It has several levels, and every level has certain narration that goes back to the source. Example. So let's say I have this is, okay, the statement from the Prophet, the saying of the Prophet, let's say, okay? So this is the saying of the Prophet. So this is the saying, okay? What the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said. So how I'm going to know what's happening? I will start with, let's say, a book. Al-Kulayni, any hadith, regardless, Sunnah, Shia, in general we're talking. What is, when we say the chain of narrations? يعني we call it we call it sanad. What's sanad? Sanad, okay? Sanad, that means we have a chain of narrators. So, I would say here, Ali, okay, we have Ali from Zayd, from, let's say, Hassan, from whom? Who is this here? We said, let's say the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay, so here we have the first sanad. What do we call this? This here we call it what? Sanad. This is a sanad. Another group would say X1, X2, X3, all the way to here. So X1 narrated from X2, X2 narrated from X3, X3 narrated from the Prophet. The third one would be what? Y1, Y2, Y3, all the way goes to here. Okay? And that saying is the same saying. So let's say the saying is what? The saying here is Hadith al-Thaqalain. So here I'm going to call it, it is about what? Al-Thaqalain. So we have Hadith al-Thaqalain that says, إني تارك فيكم الثقلين كتاب الله وعترة أهل بيته. Okay, so this is the first group. This is now the second one. This is now the third. Now fourth will be Y2, no, Z1, Z2, Z3, goes back to here. Then I have, let's say W, W1, W2, W3, goes back to here. Every one of this variable is a name. And every name is different. Every name is different. So this group, maybe different tribe, different location. It happened to be listening to the Prophet during that time. Different features, characteristics, just name it, factors. So we have the first chain all the way, we have maybe up to 25, maybe more. Every chain is different. Now, the more I have a chain of narration that is different than the previous one or other ones, the more authentic is the hadith. The probability to be authentic is what? More plausible. Is that clear? How we can understand this nowadays? We have an event happened. Only one channel said that, narrated that. 99% of the channel never mention it. Do you put a question mark? Yeah, especially if it's a critical event. Whoa, critical, very critical. Wallah, someone is telling me the moon was split into 2 pieces. How many narrators you have? Does it reach Hadd al-Tawatur? Is it narrated by non-Muslim? Did anyone else narrated that? Are the people who deals with astronomy were aware of it? Okay. So here, because it's a big event, Thaqalain, we say hadith mutawatir. If you go back to the slide, hadith al-mutawatir, what's al-hadith al-mutawatir? Hadith al-mutawatir is not only narrated by one chain. It is like you say CNN said that, Fox News that said that, I saw it over MSBNC, okay. I saw it over, I don't know which channel. I saw it in this country. I saw it in that country channel, different languages. And everyone is not narrating from the first chain. Everyone has his own resources, and those, they witness what? The event. So what's the probability now to be wrong? Very slim. Might reach 99% accuracy. So this is, we call it hadith mutawatir, and this is the highest level of authenticity. And they say al-mutawatir is 2 kinds. Is that clear here? Okay. Al-mutawatir, they say it is 2 kinds. Al-mutawatir could be mutawatir ma'nawi, could be mutawatir lafzi, and we talked about this before, but quickly. Al-mutawatir al-ma'nawi, al-mutawatir al-lafzi is a statement that everyone say it the same way. Okay? And they say this is very, very rare, if not impossible, to find hadith mutawatir lafzi, yani by the same letters, same words. It's very hard. There is always a meaning of it. Okay? Mutawatir al-ma'nawi, it is mutawatir, has different chain of narrations. But they all agree on the meaning or a general event. Example, إني تارك فيكم الثقلين. في عنا, I discussed that before. I show you so many Sunni hadith. One of them, إني تارك فيكم الثقلين, كتاب الله وعترة أهل بيتي. One of them, أحدهما أكبر من الآخر. One of them, he's ordered us to stick to them, and. But all they say what? The same meaning, that you have to consider Ahl al-Bayt alayhim salam, plus the Quran. This is hadith ma'nawi. Sometimes ma'nawi, it goes a little bit bigger, wider explanation. Like what? Wallah, Imam Ali was brave. So do I have a literal hadith for a certain event that reached mutawatir, that everyone said Al-Imam Ali is a brave person, hadith from the Prophet? I might not reach the tawatur lafzi, but it is what? Tawatur ma'nawi. Ask anyone. Till now, ask anyone. Is Imam Ali brave? Oh yeah, he is brave. He's the bravest. Isn't it? What do I call this? Tawatur ma'nawi, bil ma'na. Ma'nawi means bil ma'na. Yani overall meaning, it is mutawatir. So al-mutawatir, it is something more credible than any other narration. Yani what's the probability? You guys now, you are, let's say, you are my student. I have here, let's say, 20 students. Every one of you narrate what I said now to his brother, and his brother narrated to his son, and his son narrated to his uncle, and everyone now has a chain. So what's the probability that the 20 narrators with different chains, okay, might all misunderstand me, the same mistake, same, wrong idea? Yeah, you say, no, it's kind of impossible. Okay, it's kind of impossible. It's high probability that this is accurate. What he said is accurate. He was mistaken. Because 20 people, they heard me saying this, okay? And I have some other clues, here we are going to talk about that later on, that yeah, this person sometimes he is not accurate when he says something. يعني مثل ما متواتر, I can use it for something good, I might use it for something what? Bad. It is متواتر معنوي. Okay, this person during the time of the Prophet was a liar or a hypocrite. فالمتواتر, I can use it to prove something positive and I can use it to prove something negative. في details, sometimes I cannot prove it literally, but I can prove it overall through so many other incidents and hadith. Okay. So المتواتر, we are not talking about just one level of a chain. هلا, this is المتواتر. Any question about it? Yes. You have a question?
Yeah. So can you say like a mutawatir lafzi example would be من كنت مولاي فهذا علي مولاي, or
Even this, من كنت مولاه فهذا علي مولاه, إني تارك فيكم الثقلين, الأحاديث about الإمام المهدي, all this تواتر معنوي, because it varies. Some of them they have more stuff to it, some of them they have less. So it is متواتر معنوي, and this is very good. I mean, and we have many متواتر معنوي, and one of those biggest تواتر معنوي is a hadith about Imam Mahdi, for instance. We have so many ahadith, Sunnah and Shia. Okay, but the only difference is Shia, they say Imam Mahdi is born or was born. Sunnah, they say no. That's their opinion. Okay, so this is mutawatir ma'nawi, mutawatir lafzi. Questions here? Where's the problem? The problem, we cannot easy. It's not easy always to find mutawatir when it comes to details in fiqh. It's not easy. If we have mutawatir, I just mentioned to you that al-mutawatir, it is a group of people narrating from another, every individual in that group is narrating from an individual from the other group, and just name it. So the probability to have mistakes is less. Therefore, bil-mutawatir, you are not going to see contradiction as you see as much as you see in regular hadith. Why? Because you have people, not one or two or three. While hadith al-ahad, as you are going to see, it is narrated by one chain of narrators. There is a chance that sahabi might misunderstood what? The imam. Clear? Okay. So let me rephrase here. If you want to see it in English, we have mutawatir hadith, consecutive mass transmitted hadith. Consecutive mass transmitted hadith. It is not just one told me this. No. Groups of people. That's why we say mass transmitted hadith. This refers to a hadith with so many chains of narration and narrators that it creates certainty of its origin from the Prophet or Imam. Clear? We have verbal mutawatir, we call it hadith mutawatir lafzi, verbal. Okay? Yani even the letters, the words are the same. And the other group of hadith, we call it meaning-based hadith. So the mutawatir is based on the meaning, not literally, but good enough. Clear? So now we go back to khabar al-wahid. So as we have now mutawatir, we are done from mutawatir. Okay. What's khabar al-wahid? Before I come to khabar al-wahid, let me recap so you can remember, okay, what I'm talking about. Look, again, I have X1 narrated from what? X2 narrated from X3 narrated from what? From, let's say, the Imam or the Prophet. Good? So this is, what do I call this hadith? By itself, first of all, what do I call this? From. X, if I want to declare my variable, X is what? Is a name, is a narrator. Okay? So this is narrator 1, narrator 2, narrator, okay? Maybe I should not use X, because X means unknown, check? So I'm going to use N1, N2, N3. خلينا نكون little bit engineers. So this is N1, this is N2, this is N3. Good? Name, narrator, whatever you want to call it. So this is one sanad. How many sanad? So here I say, this here, this is, all of it is what? One sanad. What's a sanad? Chain of what? Transmission or narrators. So this is one sanad. Good? Any question? Questions? But before I come to this, brothers and sisters, you have to pay attention to something very important. Okay, I have this chain of narrations. But what's the source? Who said this is the, who's the narrator for these? Who is telling me this happened? And that's why we have here what? Hadith, books. Before I get into the sanad, the first thing you have to prove to me that is that book a reliable book or not? What if a person fabricated a book, he called it XYZ book by Al-Kulayni? Habibi, does Al-Kulayni has a book called XYZ? So before we get into the sanad, prove to me where was that hadith mentioned? Oh, it's an Al-Kulayni. Al-Kafi lil-Kulayni. Al-Kafi is for Muhammad bin Yaqub al-Kulayni. Good? So we go now, we ask, okay, this is from, now, okay, I get the source of this. The source is what? We call the source here is what? Al-Kafi. Al-Kafi. So the first question would be, is Al-Kafi genuinely, okay, written by Al-Kulayni? What do I mean by genuinely? Because sometimes we might have a book, very famous, and the author had that book. But guess what? Not the book that we have. Example, they say, for instance, Kitab al-Ikhtisas la Sheikh al-Mufid. Sheikh al-Mufid, someone claimed that he has a book called al-Ikhtisas. Some scholars, they say, no, this book is not for Sheikh al-Mufid. Okay. Alaykum salam. They say this book is not for Sheikh al-Mufid. Or, we have a book, for instance, Tafsir Ali bin Ibrahim. Ali Ibrahim is thiqa. Tafsir al-Quran. Some scholars, so many scholars now. Many scholars now, they say, no, that tafsir is not for Ali bin Ibrahim. So you go back to Ali bin Ibrahim book, you tell me, Ali bin Ibrahim narrated this hadith. Maybe this hadith is authentic, but guess what? The book is not authentic. So before I look into the sanad, I have to check what? How much that source is reliable. The source, the book itself. Did we have a book called Al-Kafi? Yes, we do. Okay. And that's why Shia, they have 4 important books. Very important books. This is, we call them top-notch books. If there is hadith, you want to check the first books to check, this is the golden level of sources. Not everything in them is accurate, but we know for a fact that the book is really for the author, and it was written and documented, it is written in that time. It was not fabricated later on. مش واحد يعني after الكليني after 200 years he invented a book and he said, hey, this is for al-Kulaini. It's like, you know, in hadith, this is a big subject. I don't want to create a, you know, big argument now. But like a Risala al-Dhahabiyya. Risala al-Dhahabiyya, it's like they call the golden message. It's about medical advices for Imam al-Rida. Go check the sanad of this. Can you prove it? It's very hard. Actually, you might see something similar written by doctors before Imam al-Rida. Okay? That's not my subject. I'm giving you an example because we cannot go deep that much now. We're still in the introduction. So here we have important books. Those books, they were written in their proper time by their authors. And we know that for so many reasons. Example, how I'm going to know that really Al-Kulaini had a book called Al-Kafi, and this is the Kafi that was written by Al-Kulaini. How I'm going to know? يعني بتطلع digital signature. One of the ways I can tell is how when the Kulaini wrote his book, it becomes famous among Shia, and Shia people start not just making copies of it, they used to study it. So we'll have, let's say, daily session. By the end of, let's say, a year or 2 or 5 years, we say, now you read all Al-Kafi, you can go teach it. So you are familiar with the Hadith Al-Kafi, and you are familiar with the copy. And the instructor will give it to his student will give it to his student, and by that, hand by hand, we got what? The proper copy of Al-Kafi. And they say the golden edition of Al-Kafi is with the Faid al-Kashani Radwanullah alayhi. We call it Al-Naskh al-Dhahabiyya, the golden edition. Okay? You get the idea? But some books, they are not that famous. Someone claimed this book is for this author. I do not know. Yes, no. Why? Because it was not famous. We do not know whether the student studied in this or not. While those books, different story. Those books, they were written by the authors and they were studied by their students and by Shia. And the Shia used to teach it for the students, scholars after scholars, till we got those copies. And we have some of these, we have old transcript, all the scripts, very old scripts. Okay? Questions here? So before we talk about the sanad, tell me first, is the book is authentic or not? People, they have always this mistake. Oh, you know, Sheikh, this is a hadith with a chain of narration. حدثني فلان عن فلان عن فلان عن فلان that Imam al-Sadiq said so. Nice. But who narrated this? Wallah, it was narrated, let's say, فرضا يعني بس انه مكارم الاخلاق has lots of ahadith mursala. We'll talk about it later on. Wallah, by Sheikh Ibn Tawus. Between Ibn Tawus and Imam and the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we have more than 600, 500 years. Where did Ibn Tawus get it? You tell me, wallah, we have a chain of narrators. Tab 1, 2, 3. That's a 300 years max. Other 300, شو صار فيهم? There's something missing here. And that's what we are going to study in Khabar al-Ahad. And how come, if this is very famous hadith, Al-Kafi did not talk about it, Istibsar did not talk about it, من لا يحضره الفقيه did not talk about it, تهذيب الأحكام, all 4 books I'm telling you, is Al-Kafi, تهذيب الأحكام, Al-Istibsar, من لا يحضره الفقيه. Those are the most famous, important books of hadith. Yani when we say Al-Kafi, you're talking about 16,000 hadith. Way more than Al-Bukhari. Al-Bukhari could be around 2,000-3,000 hadith. Okay? So, is that clear here? What we learned? First, show me the source of the hadith. Which book? Is that book reliable book or not? Reliable book does not mean everything is in it, does not mean everything in it is what? Authentic. But at least the author put it together. We know for a fact. Al-Kulayni never, Al-Kulayni, the author of Al-Kafi, never claimed everything in this book is hadith sahih as-sanad. Why? Because you can see in Al-Kafi itself, hadith contradicts with other hadith. Clear? So now this is done. Okay, the hadith, the book is good. It's called Al-Kafi. Yes, it's proven. It's a reliable book. And it was truly written by Al-Kafi, by Al-Kulayni. And Al-Kulayni passed around 329 or 328 Hijri. Okay? So this is about 1,100 years ago. Okay, so this book has a value because it's very close to Al-Imam Al-Mahdi Ghaiba, Sughra. Very close. Okay, so this book has a value. That's why it's very important. But if I find hadith, books about hadith, wallah, like Al-Bihar. Al-Bihar, you're talking about plus 700 years. Plus. Yani you're talking about what? Around 1,000 Hijri. Around. Okay? If you spot hadith in Al-Bihar, between Al-Bihar and Al-Kafi, which one is more reliable? And Al-Bihar is more like encyclopedia. I mean, the author, his aim was just to collect any books. We found this dua in an old, book. We find this, we found that. Sometimes there is no chain of narrations at all. Sometimes you read a story, you never read it in any other book, never mentioned in any other books, before Al-Bihar. Where did you get it from? Give you an example. Like we have in Ashura, because we just finished Ashura, we have some Muqri al-Aza, what they say? Oh, when everyone was martyred in Karbala, and Imam Hussein was by himself calling for help. Imam Zayn al-Abidin, who used to be very sick, on the 10th of Muharram, he took his sword and he went out of his tent to defend what? Imam Hussein. So Imam Hussein said, "Oh Zainab," he did not say Zainab. He said, "Oh Kulthum," because Kulthum could be Zainab or could be the other Zainab. Zainab al-Sughra or Zainab al-Kubra. He said, "Oh Kulthum, bring him back to the tent to protect what? The offspring of Al-Muhammad. Because if he is in the battlefield, he's going to get killed and there is no more descendants of Al-Muhammad." Who narrated this? Narrated this Al-Bihar al-Majlisi. Bihar was around 1,100 Hijri, 100 year Hijri, 1,000 Hijri, around that. We tell Al-Bihar, Ridwanullah alayhi al-Majlisi, we say, where do you get this hadith from? He does not have a resource. حدثنا فلان. Why we should stop on that hadith? Because Al-Imam al-Baqir most likely was born in Karbala. I mean, was born and he was about 3 years in Karbala. He was about 3 years. So if Imam Zayn al-Abidin killed, we have more descendants. That's one thing. Secondly, we have other descendants. Zayd, Al-Imam al-Hasan, he had a son. His name was Zayd. We have Zayd ibn al-Imam Zayn al-Abidin. From him we have Zaydiyah. And we have Zayd ibn al-Imam al-Hasan. Ibn al-Imam al-Hasan. He stayed in Medina and he did not go with Imam Hussein. Is that right, wrong? This is not my business now. Zayd ibn al-Hasan, he passed away, he was about 90 years old. I think he survived up to 120 Hijri, as I remember. So if you are saying by killing Imam Zayn al-Abidin, no more descendant of Ahl al-Bayt, this is against history. It's impossible. Some scholars, what did they say? I went a little bit off the topic, but it's important. Some scholars, what did they say? They say, yeah, he meant al-Muhammad, يعني the ma'sumin from Imam Hussein. Because as you know, ma'sumin, the rest of the ma'sumin descended from what? Imam Hussein, Imam Zayn al-Abidin, Imam Baqir, Imam al-Baqir, al-Sadiq. But the hadith did not say this. He did not say the Imams. Okay? So we ask al-Majlisi, where do you get this riwayah from? So here, before I talk about sanad, tell me where you get it from, which book? How reliable is this book? Why I care about this? What if someone invented a sanad and put it in a book? How am I going to know? And he might pick sanad sahih. If someone want to lie, if someone wants to lie, he put wrong sanad or good sanad. So that's why I ask not just about the sanad, I ask about the book. Okay, when you tell me Al-Kulayni in his book Al-Kafi, he said this hadith, I know that one of his mashayikh scholars mentioned to him this hadith is more reliable than a person 1,000 years old after. 1,000 years after. Another thing about the story I just mentioned, that we have a narrator, a book. His name is Al-Khawarizmi, Maqtal Al-Khawarizmi. He was, I don't know exactly, but it's around 560 Hijri. Maqtal Al-Khawarizmi, he had a story similar to the Al-Majlisi. But he did not say Al-Muhammad to preserve the offspring, descendants of Al-Muhammad. He said, as I remember, he said, Naslu Muhammad, the descendant of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So here we have a contradiction, a bigger contradiction here. Is that clear? But this is here, we ask these two, with our full respect for both. Ya Ammi, how come Sheikh al-Mufid did not mention it? How come Sheikh al-Tusi did not mention it? How come Sheikh Sayyid Murtada did not mention it? Murtada al-Huda. How come Tabari from Sunni school of thought did not mention it? Where do you get this story from? And who narrated? Who heard the Imam is saying this? It's a big event. And the bad people did not see Imam Zayn, I think, coming out of the tent. They kept him. Many, when they attacked the tents, they were going to kill Imam Zayn al-Abidin. One of them, he said, leave him alone. Don't you see he's still young and he's sick? Don't kill him. So no one said, oh, I saw him, was going to fight us. So one of the scholars said, I don't know why, but he said, yeah, because if they kill Imam Zayn al-Abidin, definitely they will kill Imam al-Baqir and there will be no ma'sumin. Who told you? Based on what? They killed Imam Hussein. They did not kill Imam Zayn al-Abidin. Yani if they kill the father, they have to kill the son? But also he went with them to Kufa or Damascus. How come they did not terminate him? So my point, brothers and sisters, rationalize things. So anyway, here what I did, I took advantage of three things. First of all, this is a practical lesson. Yani. I'm not here to waste your time or to tell you stories. This is very important example, very important. What we learned from this example? First of all, we ask about where you get that hadith from, which book. You tell me Al-Bihar, good. Al-Bihar has good sources and unknown sources. So we have to ask Al-Bihar, where you get it from? Secondly, we check the sanad. Do we have a chain of narration, sanad, from Al-Majlisi all the way to the narrator of that event? No. Do we have the book that Al-Bihar narrated from, and from that book he can tell us about his chain of narration? No. So here we learned the book, source, we read the sanad, and also what we practiced here, how to criticize the matan. Al-matan means what? The content. It is not enough to have, wallah, this is checked right, and this is right, and khalas, yalla, I'll consider this hadith. No, this is half of the story. The rest of the story is what? When we start criticizing and evaluating what? The content of the hadith. And this is sometimes more complicated than the sanad itself. Clear? All this, we did it with this simple example. So back to the story here. If you have questions, you can stop me. I mean, any questions? Yeah, Bihar is. And al-Bihar, al-Anwar, as you know, we're talking about the time of al-Ikhbariyin. Maybe one day we'll talk about it. So this is Hadith Ahad. How this Hadith Ahad will be mutawatir? Again, I'm repeating myself here for a reason, so you can remember it. Al-mutawatir is not enough one hadith. You are going to have here, okay. We are going to have, so this is the Imam Hadith, okay. So I'm going to delete this here so I can make some room. So I will have another chain of narration. So this will be what are we going to call this? And 9, and 10, and 11 goes to here. Then I will have another one, okay, and 12, and 13, and 14, and goes all the way here. And then I have another one. I have and 15, and 16, and as a narrator. Narrator 17, and goes all the way here. So now you can see I'm building here a case. What's the probability? Hayda, this narrator is thiqa. Thiqa means what? Trustworthy. Yani every an in this equation is what? A trusted narrator. Every an here, and variable, is what? A trusted narrator. So this is a trusted. Okay, go. This is trusted. This is an 9, مش an A, sodium, okay? Trustworthy. Everyone in this chain is a trustworthy. So what's the probability up to this level? 1, 2, 3, 4. Up to this, what's the probability the hadith will be wrong? You say, come on, كلهم ما شاء الله trustworthy. And they are Sahaba, they are not Sahaba of A'imma, yani they are not any, some of them will be. What's the probability will be the hadith wrong? You tell me it's becoming less. Now imagine I go all the way to let's say 50 and goes back here. So how many chain we have here? 50 chains. This is a mass narrated hadith. What's the probability this will be wrong? Very, very, very negligible. Any rational person will consider this hadith a must to consider. We call this hadith mutawatir. Good? Yani every narrator is sahih, trustworthy, thiqa. I mean every chain is sahih, sanad. And we have a group. How many numbers of chains I should have to be mutawatir? We have different opinions. Some might say more than 5. Some of them they say 10. Some of them 15. Some of them they say it's unlimited, has nothing to do with the number. But definitely big number. Okay? So now, let's say this does not exist. This does not exist. I only have one chain of narration. What do I call this hadith now? This is what? This is not anymore mutawatir. What do I call this? نسميه خبر ahad. So this is now خبر ahad. What's خبر al-ahad? خبر الواحد أو خبر الأحد أو خبر الواحد. Okay. What's خبر الواحد? This is one of them. This خبر الواحد. It is authenticated sanad. everyone is trustworthy, ثقة, yet that's it. No one mentioned this idea from the Imam except this hadith. 16,000 hadith, only this chain said this. Does it make you think about its authenticity right away? إنه معقول يعني 16,000 only one time was mentioned? So the answer would be, yeah, it depends. If it's not a critical, it's a detail, okay, could be. Could be. But if the statement by the Imam is critical and famous, yet only one hadith discuss it, why, we say? I'm not saying we do not consider the hadith. This is not my topic now. But khabar al-wahid here will be questionable. Why only this person narrated from this? Is what happened to other narrations? So this is khabar al-wahid. Khabar al-wahid does not mean one narrator or one chain. I might have another chain of narration. I might have N4 from N5 narrated from N6 and N7 narrated from N8 narrated from N9 3. This is here still khabar ahad because did not reach what? Did not reach mutawatir. So we have mutawatir and we have khabar al-ahad. And here we talk about al-mutawatir. Khabar al-ahad, this term applies to any report that has not reached the level of al-mutawatir hadith, meaning it was narrated by a limited number of narrators. It does not necessarily imply that only one person narrated. Some people, when you tell them khabar al-wahid, that means one narrator. No, it could be several chains. Yani Al-Kafi said, N1 told me. Al-Kafi said, which is Al-Kulayni, said N4 told me, N5 told me. Some scholars, they say, yeah, it is not mutawatir, but I call it hadith mustafid. And they give attention to hadith al-mustafid more than one hadith. And 3 level of chain of narrations it's not easy. Okay? And they're all talking about the same idea. More than that, we have some scholars like Asif Muhsini in his last days. He had an opinion. Let's say I have 4 chain of narrations. 4 chains of, يعني عندنا N1 والN4 والN7 والN8. Okay? 4 chain of narrations. Even though they are all weak hadith, to him, I can consider that hadith. Because he will tell you what's the probability this group plus this group plus this group plus this group all agree on the same statement. So there is something was happening then. Something was said. That's his opinion though. Okay? Questions here? So we have mutawatir, hadith mutawatir, that means transmitted by mass of people, so many chain of narrators. Al-khabar al-wahid, it could be 1 chain, it could be 2 chain of narrators, it could be 3 chains or 4 or maybe more. Yes?
What do you mean by chain of narrators?
This is the chain, we call it sanad. N1, Ali said that Muhammad told him, that Hassan told him, that he heard Imam al-Sadiq. This is called what? A chain of transmission. The second one is the same group was maybe with the Imam and also said, yeah, this Ali, he said, Muhammad told me, Hassan told me, Imam al-Sadiq told me. Another person came to me, his name is Sa'id. Sa'id told me that Hassan told him, that Zayd told him, Imam al-Sadiq said the same thing.
Also, the second chain, I thought they're like
No, everyone is separate,
But it's still the same hadith.
but same hadith. And I gave an example of that. I don't know, maybe you missed it. It's like I have CNN is reporting through its own means. Okay, they said that what happened. Fox News, another news, another. Everyone has his own resources, so that will give the event or the news credibility. Okay, so when I say N1 said N2, okay, this is different than this is chain. That will tell me it's either those, all of them were in the majlis of Imam Hussein, let's say, or Imam al-Sadiq, or Imam said it in different occasions. Yes. So this will give it more credibility. Is that clear? Thank you for the question. Clear? Did I miss anything? Or my statement is vague? Okay. So this is Khabar al-Wahid. All this is a review for your information. Huh? It's just a review. We did not start something new yet. But I had to give it to you on this. Now, what's the problem with Khabar al-Wahid? We have so many problems. I'll give you quick examples. Later on, inshallah, we'll go into more details. So let's say, take the famous event. We have event that As-Zahra alayhi salam had in history a land called Fadak. A land called what? Fadak. So Al-Khalifa Abu Bakr said, no. The Prophet said, نحن معاشر الأنبياء لا نورث ما تركناه فهو صدقة. يعني we do not inherit, we do not let our kids inherit anything. Everything we leave after our death, it is what? It's considered what? A charity. So As-Zahra said, yeah, but the Quran says, وَوَرِثَ سُلَيْمَانَ دَاوُودَ وَلِلذَّكَرِ مِثْلُ حَظِّ الْأُنْثَيَيْنِ. Did not say whether it's a prophet or the daughter of the prophet. Okay? And in her famous khutbah, said, أَتَرِثُ أَبَاكَ فِي الْجَاهِلِيَّةِ وَلَا أَرِثُ أَبِي. How come you inherit your father and I don't inherit my father? He said, that's what we heard. We heard the prophet said, yeah, we don't, you don't have the right to inherit from the prophet because whatever they leave behind is what? Considered charity. So As-Zahra challenged him by what? By Quran. Even Zakaria, he asked for a kid to inherit him. So let's say the Abu Bakr, Imam Ali, As-Zahra, Al-Quran. We have problems here. Where's the problem? You are bringing hadith. Who narrated that hadith? 2, 3 people? How many? And if that hadith is very critical, how come Imam Ali did not know about it? How come Zahra did not know about it? Sayyidat Nisa al-Alameen. She is not like any person. She is Sayyidat Nisa al-Alameen. How come some of the wives of the Prophet did not know about it? How come the Sahaba did not know about it? How come no one said, oh Fatima, come on, you don't remember the Prophet said this? Where did he say it? Where? Which occasion? The second important one, and this is our here, important lesson. When I have Quran and Hadith, which one I pick? Quran. And that's why Ahl al-Bayt in so many Hadith, maybe more than 19 Hadith, they said anything contradicts Quran, what do you do to it? Throw it away. So here some Sunni and some Shia, they might say, certain places, this is, yeah, definitely it contradicts, what Abu Bakr said here, Khalifa Abu Bakr, what he said, contradicts the Quran. Clearly. When it contradicts the Sunnah, because Imam Ali said it's wrong, and contradicts the history, because everybody knows that Zahra, when she passed away, was angry with Abu Bakr and Umar. And she did not allow them to attend her funeral or pray on her or know her grave. Till now, we do not know where's the grave of Fatima alayhi salam in a very authentic, clear hadith. So here we have, you go to the Sunni school of thought, oh, this is hadith sahih sanad. So, hadith sahih sanad, but contradicts Quran. And we say right away, this is akhbar ahad. It's not mutawatir to bring it close to the Quran. Nothing comes to the Quran close to the level of the Quran. Nothing. There is no hadith on earth can overwrite Quran. Quran is the source. Quran is the reference, not the opposite. So what do they say here, some scholars? They say, yeah, but sometimes a hadith, I'm done from that story, I'm talking now in general. We have hadith and we have the Quran. Quran is a general. Maybe the hadith might limit some rulings of the ayah or show us some exceptions or explain it in certain details we were not aware of it. So this is a big subject. Inshallah we'll talk about it. And they came to a point, does the hadith has the right ينسخ القرآن? Or no, it's like المحكم العام والخاص ومحكم ومقيد مطلق ومقيد. So this is a big subject, but this is not has to do with the علم الرجال. It is more about علم الحديث in general, which we'll study it later on. Now we are focusing on the sanad itself, not the matan, not the context. Clear? Now the sanad, brothers and sisters, so khabar al-ahad could be a problem. Khabar al-ahad is not like mutawatir. Khabar al-ahad could contradict Quran. What you are going to do with it? Could contradict another hadith. What are you going to do? Which hadith you are going to pick? I will show you some hadith contradict each other, whether in Shia hadith book or in Sunni hadith book. What are you going to do with it? Why? They say one of the reasons, because that narrator maybe misunderstood the Imam, misunderstood the Prophet, or maybe he did not pay attention, or maybe the hadith is fabricated. Someone, made this hadith somehow, smart person, okay? And so many reasons. So what should we do to know whether this hadith, khabar al-ahad, sah or not? Hala, we'll discuss it in a bit, if we have time, okay? But before I enter that, we have a group of scholars. They say khabar al-ahad by itself, you cannot and you should not use it for aqa'id. It's a very important statement. When it comes to beliefs, what are beliefs? What do I mean by beliefs? Yani if you don't believe in, you are what? Kafir. They say, when it comes to beliefs, I cannot build my core beliefs on khabar wahid or khabar ahad. It has to be either mutawatir or from Quran or rationally sound. No question about it. This is very important idea. Wallah, Sheikh, I believe in this. Why? I read this hadith. Can you build aqeedah based on one hadith or two hadith? So that group of scholars, they say no. Al-aqeedah has to build on authentic, highly authenticated ahadith that reach the level of tawatur or close enough and supported by Quran or rational thinking. Group of scholars, they have also nice statement. They say when it comes to scientific facts, whether it's in medicine, cosmology, nature, don't eat this, don't drink that way, don't do that. When it comes to natural things, natural facts, they say khabar al-wahid is not enough. Because usually people, they misunderstand or they lie when it comes to daily life, medication, things like that. And that's why you see that a group of people, they put big question marks about so many books in medicine. طب الأئمة, they say there is nothing called طب الأئمة. This is fabricated book. We'll discuss it later on. That a group of scholars, okay, saying the authors are unknown in علم الرجال. Okay? Oh, where's the advantage of it? So when you have hadith contradict with science, I will tell you, Habibi, this is khabar ahad. Who told you I believe in it? Wallah, earth is on the tip of, a ball. Okay? True. What are you talking about? Yeah, it has meaning you don't understand. Or there is no adwa. You see some riwayat. Sunnah and Shia, you see it. What do you mean no adwa? No infection? What are you talking about? So that's why you are going to learn later on, the faqih has to build a paradigm, a methodology. He has to work hard on it. He has to found that. And based on that foundation, he can apply it when it comes to ijtihad. It's not like cherry pick. You have to have a methodology. Yani you told me 1 + 1 = 2. Wherever I go, 1 + 1 = 2. No, we'll make it 2.1. Well, yeah. It belongs to a natural number, okay, set. So it has to be what? 2. You build a method. You work hard on it. You spend years in proving your point. You start applying it. And this will save us so much headache later on. When it comes to fiqh, some scholars, they say, if this chain of narrations, all of it is authentic and sahih, that's it. You go make fiqh ruling based on that statement. Done. Some scholars, they say, group of scholars. Even in the time of Sheikh al-Murtada, he said, yeah, this is hadith. Is mentioned in Al-Kafi, and it is sahih al-sanad, but it's not enough to derive from a ruling. I need more certainty. Now we have also some scholars like this. Some scholars, they are happy being hadith sahih al-sanad is good enough. We'll talk, inshallah. Give examples. Okay? Clear? So now, about the hadith sahih al-sanad, the hadith khabar al-ahad. What's khabar al-ahad? Khabar al-ahad, it is, brothers and sisters, you look at it as what? I'm going to give you a very simple example, cartoon style, okay? Using ChatGPT. Okay, the cartoon style, we have this. So let's say I have this bead, this bead, this bead, this bead, this bead, this bead, okay? How many beads I have so far? Okay. This is masbaha, isn't it? It does not look like masbaha, but it is like masbaha. So this is like masbaha, isn't it? Every bead, look at it as a narrator. Good? Every bead is what? A narrator. What do we see here? Continuity. Don't we see continuity in the wire of the masbaha? You know what's masbaha, isn't it? Subhanallah, subhanallah. Can I have your $10? Okay, this is a good example. So I have, this is similar, okay? This masbaha, if one bead is removed, that means the wire, what happened to it now? Mishani, I broke the bead itself. No, I cut it and I took it out. What will happen to the rest? They will fall. The continuity is very important. If there is no continuity, I put right away, this masbah is no good, man. If you carry it, it will fall into so many beads on the floor. Sheikh? Thank you. So when we talk about sanad, I have to check the continuity. Agree with me? Good. If this is gone, I say, yeah, an one let's say N1 was living in 250 Hijri. This is Hijri time. This one here was 11, I'm sorry, yeah. This is here, he passed away 350. Good? This guy here, he passed away around 310. This guy here, he passed away, let's say, you know what, because I said Imam Sadiq, so let's say 200, this is, let's say, 180, this is, let's say, 160. Okay? You can tell me right away, there is a chance N1 met N2, narrator 1, met narrator 2, met narrator 3. Why? Because I check what time they passed away. Okay, good. That's one thing we do in Ilm al-Rijal. Secondly, where did this guy live? Wallah, this is in Mexico and this is in Kufa. Hey, stop it. How this guy met this guy? Yani بعت له text message يعني مثلا? Back to continuity. Okay? There is some way they are connected somehow. One of the ways they are connected, they are in the same location or at least portion of their life. Wallah, this guy lived in Al-Kufa for a certain years, and this guy was in Al-Kufa during that time. Okay. And their ages is very close to each other. That's another good thing. So how many factors now we have? Co-location at a certain point, plus there is a chance their age overlaps. Good? Question? Third, did they physically meet? Yeah, you tell me this was the instructor of this. This is the student of this instructor. N1 used to study in the school of N2. That's his instructor. He narrated this hadith from N2. Okay, good. It's very, very good. Okay. Or they met in Hajj. Okay, there is a qarina, we say. We'll study this later on. So here we have, this is important. Third, prove to me this guy is trustworthy. Trustworthy. How? Oh, there's a big stuff here. This is now critical. Who's going to tell me whether N1, narrator 1 is trustworthy, narrator 2 trustworthy, narrator 3 trustworthy? شوفوا بعلم الحديث we have famous people. يعني والله you say محمد بن مسلم ثقة, زرارة ثقة, عبد الرحمن بن يونس ثقة. Only ثقة. No question about it. But some names we do not know them. Either muhmal, negligible, or no one said anything good or bad about them, or. That's a big problem. We'll discuss it later on, inshallah. But as far as this khabar hadith, in order for this hadith to be hadith sahih, and here what we say hadith sahih, I don't know if you can see it. Hadith sahih means every narrator is what? Every narrator is what? Trustworthy and Shia. Every one of this one. The hadith is what? Sahih sanad. Based on what? Everyone is trustworthy and he is Shi'i, and they live, coexist, co-located somewhere at a point, and their ages are close to from each other. مش واحد 300 والتاني 100. حبيبي, there is a missing part. See, remember this beads. You cannot have a bead here and there is another one and another subha. Does not belong. It has to be within the same time frame in a continuous manner. If one of those is gone, this is not sahih anymore. It's like the subha here. Everything fall apart. Good? So this is, we call it hadith sahih. So by that we call it sahih. What's after Sahih? We have Hadith Hasan, Hadith Muwathaq, and Hadith Da'if. Inshallah, those we'll discuss them in our next meeting. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.